Tabata, since you have created the Tabata boot camp, same question, would you give any advice to personal trainers who are doing Tabata exercises with their clients? Because when I look on social media, I see people doing what they call Tabata, and I kind of scratch my head and I say, that doesn't kind of look like the Tabata that I know. Again, would you have any advice to those personal trainers to say, you could do it better if you do this?
The advice I would give to people that teach Tabata is, what is the goal and who are you teaching? And are you wanting to teach true Tabata or teach to the timing of Tabata? So with my Tabata bootcamp program that's now evolved into MyFit, my interval-based fitness course, is it has to be defined, because just putting 20-10, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, into the arena of any exercise is not Tabata. Tabata is all out, everything you can muster, and at the end of the 20 seconds, you are done, you're dust, and you're through. Then you've got 10 seconds to recover, which is not much, it's negative recovery, and then you gotta do it all over again. So at the end of 8 rounds, you are completely spent. You don't want to do anything else. You can't go and then do another Tabata. I mean, I've seen people do 8 rounds of Tabata. I mean, like 8 sets of 8. That's not Tabata. Tabata is 20 seconds on to all out effort in the anaerobic zone where you cannot do anything else. You've got 10 seconds to try to muster up the energy again, to do it again, and that lasts for 8 rounds. So like a tricep dip is not a Tabata. I have a whole checklist for what is Tabata. What Tabata is an exercise that you do one time. It's one exercise. You don't then say, oh, I'm going to do 8 different exercises in Tabata. Because Tabata, you have to think about what you're doing. So if you take the first 3 or 4 seconds to get into it, well, you've already missed 3 or 4 seconds. And that learning at the very beginning, you have to learn the move at the beginning, and then you have to execute the move without having to think about it. It's got to be in your mind and your muscles. So when that second number 1 happens, you're already into it, right? So it has to be an exercise that you feel right away, right? And it has to be simple. It has to be simple, stupid. Like a squat jump. A squat jump is simple, stupid. And it has to have measurable results, right? So the lowering phase is more important than the lifting phase. So if you're doing a jump, you're thinking about how you load to then explode. So you have to have a measurable, maybe like a yoga block or a cone or a marker or something that you touch every time. You touch every time, and then you explode from there. It's not something that gets easier. It's something that you have to replicate for the whole 20 seconds. Now, is that challenging? Absolutely. But you have to choose the right exercise for that. So Joe, when you said, I'm looking at the internet and there's a whole bunch of exercises out there that people do in the 20-10 timing and they call it Tabata. Well, that's not true. It's not true Tabata. True Tabata was created in 1996 by a man named Izumi Tabata. He didn't even create the protocol. He was the researcher that these coaches in Japan said, hey, we've got this protocol that it's 2010. Can you do a research study on it and see if it really has merit? Well, the reason I found out about it is that I was doing some research for an infomercial that I was tasked to do. And I just saw this really obscure little research study from Japan, from this guy, and it created crazy EPOC and post-exercise. Well, that crazy EPOC and post-exercise is what then the fitness industry gravitated on and said, whoa, we can create this afterburn EPOC, excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, after the fact. And so that's when they grabbed it and said, the fitness industry said, we can have afterburn and it's going to be so great. And well, what we found is if you do Tabata right, there is a crazy afterburn right after you finish the exercise, and then it dips down really fast, but there's still something in the 24 hours in post-exercise if you do it right. Now, is that not to say that people can't use the timing of Tabata? Absolutely they can, but they need to specify. So in our classes of Tabata Bootcamp and now MyFit, we stress that instructors to be authentic, to be true to what the Tabata really is, the science and the research. You have to designate one part in the class, one time in the class, when it is true Tabata. True. And then after that, you can use the timing of Tabata for other things. You can add other exercises in the mix. You can do warm up with the 20-10 timing. You can do cool down with the 20-10 timing, but it's the Tabata timing. It's not Tabata itself.